Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. Good evening, everyone. Similoduwa, a Google DeepMind scholar in the AI for Science program at the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. I'm currently speaking from South Africa. It's truly commendable to see that young voices are included in this critical conversation, even among leading researchers, policymakers, representatives of tech companies, and civil society leaders. The role of AI in youth development, well-being, and mental health is not just a topic for experts, since it directly affects young people, shaping our education, emotions, and interactions. So I think this topic really demands our input. Um, we all know that AI has never been more accessible than it is today. From social media algorithms to personalized learning apps, AI is deeply embedded in the lives of young people. With just a smartphone, a child can interact with AI driven platforms, like ChatGPT, can interact with tools like character.ai and other deep fake tools that can generate images, music, and text. And as a Google DeepMind scholar, I'm more involved in the engineering and technical aspects of AI. So it has been very enlightening and concerning to hear about the multifaceted impacts of AI and digital technologies on our youth, in this session. And I've also been very glad to listen to the thought-provoking questions from the participants. Youths and children are increasingly engaging with AI, just like Prof. Cecile mentioned, for different things like personalized learning, content creation, social interaction, and many other things that can greatly benefit our development. But these tools, even with their positive sides, these tools can also expose them to potential risks and even severe outcomes like suicide, self harm, and changes in cognitive behaviors, which we have seen in this session. Right, one major case is the case of the 14-year-old boy from Florida who died by suicide in February 2024 after interacting with Character AI. Character AI is a chatbot that allows users to have realistic conversations with AI generated personas. And a 14-year-old boy committed suicide from just interacting with this bot. Right. So this shows that AI can really have severe outcomes on youth and children. Another severe case is one of an 11-year-old girl from Texas who began using character AI at age 9 and was exposed to hypersexualized content, right? And that content led her to severe emotional distress and psychological harm, right? We also have other cases of deepfakes, generating explicit content without consent from users, right? So all of these cases just demonstrates how AI can affect cognitive and behavioral development, particularly in younger children. So it's very important for policymakers and tech companies, to collaborate and ensure that AI enhances rather than harms youth development, as AI becomes more integrated in our daily life. Um, Generally, I believe today's session has provided a comprehensive overview of how AI interacts with children's cognitive, emotional, and social development. Right. I'm also happy to see how the speakers have shedded light on both its benefit and potential risks. And the interconnectedness of the topics discussed today has also been very striking. Professor Wolfsinger's insights into the critical periods reminds us that the foundations of a child's future are laid in positive early experiences. So it is very crucial to ensure that we provide environments that are rich in positive experiences for children. And also, as children grow into adolescence, mental health becomes a very central concern. Many people young people today turn to AI driven mental health tools for support, from therapy chatbots to mood tracking apps, which I also use. So while these tools offer accessibility, they also raise ethical questions, right? Questions like, can AI truly understand human emotions? And how do we prevent AI from making harmful or inaccurate recommendations? These are very important questions that we need to ponder on after this discussion. And Professor Christian Schmall's talk on adolescent mental health, and non-suicidal self-injury and childhood abuse was also very intriguing. We were able to see how abuse has a massive influence on the brain functions like emotional regulation and memory. And one part that I found particularly intriguing was showing how trauma can lead to suicidal thoughts and behaviors like self-injury. So I think a key takeaway is that youths must be conscious of their social media consumption, right? Because these suicidal behaviors can be triggered by posts on social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and the likes. Dr. Emily's presentation on the digital dilemmas and well being in the context of youth development was also very intriguing. Like she said, understanding youth requires good insights and not just good intentions. So we must understand through research how social media platforms and AI tools shape the behaviors of young people. We must also ensure that these social media algorithms are optimized for the well being of the youth and not just engagement and profit for these tech companies. And our presentation also tied directly into the issue of problematic social media use, as discussed by Professor Christian Montag, right? These AI powered recommendation systems are incredibly effective at keeping young people engaged on social media, but at what cost? And who should be responsible for this ethical AI design and ensuring responsible usage of social media? Should it be the companies? Should it be the policymakers or the users themselves? These are some key questions we should be asking ourselves. And also, how do we hold the platforms accountable for ensuring safety of users, right? So these are very thought-provoking questions that we need to answer from Professor Christian's presentation, right? And that's where policy comes in, which Professor Cecile's talk on AI policy for children touched upon, right? So our talk basically reminded us that ethical AI for children and young people cannot be an afterthought, right? It must be a global priority for everyone. And I'm glad to see how the UNICEF is at the forefront of this effort, driving the agenda for ethical AI through several initiatives that push for child-centered AI policies. And beyond these policies, I think developers and tech companies must also take responsibility for embedding these ethical principles into AI systems. So there must be stronger privacy protections, there must be improved content moderation, and also um, there must be this commitment to developing safe AI systems that actively prevents harm rather than amplifying the risks of AI. And finally, Jacqueline's presentation on Snap and AI generated child sexual abuse imagery was also very eye opening and urgent. It's quite commendable that Snapchat prioritizes privacy and proactive protection for users, you know. And we also saw how tools that they provide in their app encourage creation over passive consumption. I think this is a very important one for the youth. Innovative methods such as their in-app warnings, family center, and also blocking malicious users, sets a strong precedent for responsible AI use in social media. Additionally, the cross-industry and cross-sector engagement in dialogues and conferences by Snapchat is highly commendable, right? Because tackling this issue requires collective effort from everyone. I think other companies should follow this lead and embed robust safeguards in their tech platforms that prevent AI driven exploitation and ensure that these digital spaces remain safe for young people. So, as we move forward in today's discussion, I want us to ask ourselves these questions. How do we ensure that AI is developed and used in ways that support youth development, youth well being, and mental health? How do we balance the benefits of AI with its risks, such as addiction, exploitation, deepfake abuse, and even severe mental health consequences like anxiety, depression, and suicidal harms? Thank you very much.